Rent to rent. Rent to rent,
Yeah.
I give it a 3-star. You convinced me on the rent to rent, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for me, rent to rent, you get to do all the work, and it's great for cash flow, for getting money every month, but it's not, you know, property is not just about that. You need the 3 or 4 ways to make money in property. I don't know, maybe I'll just quickly mention that. So there's your rental that you need to make income on, right? Then there's your appreciation, so your property value goes up over time, so you can't making money in that. You're making money because if you have a bond, your tenants are paying off your bond, right? So you're making money again from reduced bond amount. And then you also make money from tax benefits, right? So that also puts money back into your pocket. But if you just do rent to rent, you only get 1 out of the 4 as a benefit. And I think for that reason, I have to agree with you that the 3 stars is definitely appropriate. It's very easy to get, much easier to get into it and that sort of thing. But I think that, you know, if we really property investors, this for me is making money, and it's a strategy to make money out of property, but it's not a true property investment strategy, because you're only earning 1 out of those 4 income streams that is available in property.
100%. But I want to jump in there, Rita, and mention the fact that for me, I would then turn around and say, as a newbie who's testing to see, is property for me? I would like to give rent-to-rent strategy a 5-star, because you're getting into the thick of stuff. You're learning how to do it with no strings attached. And if you don't like it, and if property is not for you, because, you know, some people are around, there's many ways of passive income. You know, we have just chosen property, but there's so many ways, right?
Yeah.
Well, we have chosen property, but I've chosen property and books. Eh?
Yeah.
Right. So on that alone, so for a newbie, someone who's starting off a rookie, they can go and rent out a house, and there's no strings attached. If it doesn't really work out for them, they can see property, it's not for me. Would you agree with me there?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good way to figure out if this is what you want to do. And I think even if you do property, you know, to jump into something where you're going to have to be hands-on, this is a good way to test that out if you are that hands-on type of person. Otherwise, rather do some of the more passive strategies and not the hands-on ones, because I can get very irritated with tenants very quickly. And if they call me on a Saturday or Sunday night, and I'm like, guys, Christmas Day, I'm like, no, I don't want to be dealing with this. So I like to you know, do strategies where I don't have that. So students, that's actually quite nice, because, you know, generally they're home on those days, so you don't really have December holidays with them, except if you're crazy like me and then do Airbnb in December, but that's a different story for another day. But you know, I think that it's a good strategy for people to test it out.
Good. You want to jump in?
And you can just cancel, and you don't have to sell, and you didn't have all the big costs and all of that.
100%. Okay. You want to jump into the advantages and disadvantages?
Yeah, let me go into that. So I think there's rentals, you know, there's still lots of demand. So in terms of rent to rent, what makes it work is that you rent it out and you get an approval from the landlord to sublet the property, okay, to other people. Now, you're going to pay as a single tenant, okay, and you kind of guaranteeing the rent to that landlord, and you are going to sublet it to multiple tenants. So in effect, it's kind of a a room letting or a student rental, or it turns into one of those things by default, because, or Airbnb, where you do a daily rate, a nightly rate, or whatever for people. So you have to go from something that has a lower income in terms of long-term rental and make it a shorter or a higher density income for students or something like that. So you have to, number one, convince the landlord that it's a good idea to do that. I really thought it would be difficult. That was my main objection in my head about why this can't work in the beginning, until I realized that if you look for properties like this in student accommodation areas, those guys don't want to deal with students, but they know they can make money in that area and that it is a student area, but they're tired of dealing with NASPers and the universities and the students and all of that painful stuff. So they would rather let you give them a stable monthly income in rental, and they are okay if you rent it out to students. And I'll talk about a deal where I did exactly that. It's obviously the management portion of it. You can't really outsource that, because now that's your income, right? That's actually where you're making a big chunk of the money. So there's not really a lot of space to outsource that to anybody. And for the same reasons as before, your student rental and so on, you can't really outsource that in the first place. Right, then your profit margins are high if you do it right, so that's quite nice. Easy to find the units. It's like a medium difficulty for beginners, I would say. Just in terms of, because of the rental and the hands-on part of it, okay? In terms of your trying it out, it's still a good strategy. The tricky bit will just be to make sure that you lose as little as possible if you have to cancel. So you just need to make sure that your rental agreement and your cancellation terms for your rental agreement is flexible, and you can cancel without too big a penalty. And your deposit you're going to lose probably, but so that's just something to look out for. Maintenance and that sort of stuff is done by the landlord. Obviously, if you break anything, you have to fix it, but that is standard. But oh crap, the internet is down. Actually, I don't need to deal with that. I call the landlord. Hello, your internet is down. Fix it, and they do. So that's quite nice. Vacancy again, because we're doing multi-let, so you're getting the benefit of not a total loss of income. You need a much lower initial capital for that property. Again, I think that kind of depends, because if you're renting something and you're going to sublet it to tenants as furnished accommodation, by the way, you can actually also do single rental, rent to rent, and then just furnish it and rent it out as furnished accommodation, because you can get more rental from furnished accommodation than non-furnished accommodation. So you're renting as non-furnished, renting out as furnished, maybe to corporate clients, right? Corporate long-term clients, if you have those connections. So in that instance, obviously you will need that money to furnish and for your deposit. So that's generally what you will need, but it's not like you have transfer fees and deposits that the bank might want, and renovation costs and all of that crap. So you don't need all of that. So it's a lot less initial capital that will be required. And the exit is easier if it doesn't work, so you can cancel, and hopefully in this time you've made enough money to cover any potential losses from cancellation, if you can hang on there long enough. Right, and then obviously the last one, which I've spoken about already, is just that you're only going to benefit from the rental. You're not really going to benefit from the other options in income streams that you can have. So this is an example of a property that we rented out. This is here in Cape Town, and I had an overflow of students, and I didn't know what to do with them, and I definitely I didn't have time to go and buy furniture and things like that. So we found this property. and the owner of it was trying to rent it out. He had 2 or 3 students, but you know, he's a big guy actually, and he wasn't really interested anymore to manage students and this sort of thing, and that he had much better, less effort intensive clients, tenants that he was that's bringing in money. So he didn't really want to do students anymore. So we said to him, okay, cool, can we rent out your place? And initially, when I started doing rent to rent, I would rent out the whole place, and then it's up to me to fill it. And then I got clever and I said, hell no, I'm not doing that. I'm paying you per bed. So if a student, and it's only, and because this person was doing student accommodation to start off with, he knows that students come and go, right? So even some of these students are short course students, so they'll only be there for 4 months or 6 months, and then they'll leave again. So we were basically paying 2,500 rands per bed per month for this place, and we literally renting per bed. And we can then, if they move in, say in July, then I pay for July. If they move out in September, I only pay until September. So I only pay for the months that they are actually there, which is really cool because I don't have to, number one, rent out the whole place. I'm only renting per person. So I don't have to, obviously I'm pressured to fill it up because I want to get more money, but in terms of my expenses, I don't have that. So that was quite cool. And then I'm renting it out for 4,500 per bed. And I also negotiated it so that I'm only paying 1,000 rands per person per month now during this time. And then when, because these guys were doing students already, they know how bursary and NSFAS payments and all of that stuff works. So they know that. So I then said, I will pay you the balance of this, the other 1,500 rands when I get payment in December or November or whenever from the bursaries. And they agreed to that. And we can now literally just go crazy and put students in here. And that works out to a very nice, there was no deposit. We didn't have to give a deposit, but we did have to obviously then do an agreement that we will, if anything breaks, and you know, they've got quite a strict house rule policy about breakages and cleaning and painting and all of that stuff. So it's just we have our we take deposits from the students, but we didn't have to pay a deposit to him, so that helped a lot as well. Cool.
Yeah, and again, we've put on a rent-to-rent course that's available for 497, and that rent-to-rent is not predominantly for student accommodation, but you can literally do a rental and rent for whatever the use of the property is, you know. So each property comes through with its own use. So if you're looking for student accommodation, whatever place that you are renting out, does it have consent to utilize for student accommodation? And that course there, it's available for you for the members only for 497. All right. I did say that we you know, at first I was not fond of this at all, and you know, but we're now doing it. We're renting some places out, and it's adding up to our balance, our income statement, obviously, which helps us obviously with the bank. So there's other benefits that you get, you know, from rental. Obviously, your cash flow increases as well. Okay, good stuff.